Today's conversation is sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9-to-5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast, the #1 podcast for the strategies, tactics, and actions high wage earners need for living an intentionally designed life of wealth and resilience.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in building the wealthy and resilient lifestyle that you are looking to lead faster. I'm your host, Billy Keels, and really looking forward to another one of these solo episodes, sharing more of the thoughts that are on my mind and things like that with the goal of being able to help you. And I also want to say thank you so much, as I do every single time, every single episode, especially to those of you who've left your honest written reviews as well as your ratings. It means the world to us. I would also say, for those of you that are tagging us on LinkedIn as well as Instagram, absolutely awesome, helping to continue to make the podcast in the top 1.5% of podcasts globally. And also, too, for those of you who want to find any of the previous episodes, just go to billykeels.com/podcast. You can find all the more than 400 episodes, billykeels.com/podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about something that has been on my mind and something that's been on my heart recently, because this is one of probably the biggest struggles that I went through during the end of my corporate career, at least at the beginning, right? Later on, I got much better at it and feeling much more comfortable in the choice that I made. But there was a moment in time in my corporate career where I was on such a fast track, being in the top talent program, having high levels of influence within the organization, high levels of direct line control, moving up the ladder. I thought that the promotion path was the only way that I could contribute to a company, because I was taking on more special projects. I was in the limelight. I was at this, in the dinners, and I was meeting the executives, and I had access to the right mentors in the organization, and life looked really, really fantastic. Right. Think about where I was at this point in time. I'd been working for about 18 years. I was a mid-level manager of a very large, enterprise software company based in Europe. Had teams of people anywhere. The low end was 6 up to about 20 people directly reporting to me, which got to be a little bit too much. But at this point in time, I was doing so many things. I was a young father, a very, very recently married, very young father, 2 young kids. At the time, my spouse was not working. So it was like this lifestyle was going really, really well, but I was used to continuing to move up the ladder. And so I had an opportunity, like in my mind, and part of my top talent or different name, but basically most companies know it as top talent. One of the things that I wanted to be able to do was to be a CEO of a specific location, or a managing director of a specific location, like the United Kingdom and Ireland, or maybe, I don't know, somewhere Middle East, North Africa, or maybe somewhere like Spain, but to be what they call a managing director. Like, that was my goal. And so one of the things that I needed to do was move from the organization that I was in, which was really like remote selling and stuff like that, to the field sales. And so I took a lateral move, but the idea was to take a lateral move to go up much faster, right? And so at that point in time, I realized, like, I took this lateral move. I was supposed to move up the organization, things that were, that I was really focused on at the time, but now with a little perspective, don't really make that much sense. Like, how much money was I going to get increased and all this other kind of stuff, which was important, but not the real reason that I was taking the role. Because remember, the end goal is I wanted to become the MD in the promotion path that was going to fast track me there. And so while this was happening, I got to a point where something inside started to change, because up until that point, like, I was really about, like, how do I get what's the job? What are the roles and responsibilities? And how can I get beyond those really quickly and get the promotion, be in the fast track, continuing to do that? Like, that's what I had done the previous 18 years. And that was the thing that was really, really important to me. But now, being a young father, there was this thing inside of me where I really wanted to focus more on my family and not really so much on work. And I didn't, that it was just kind of one of those things that was happening inside. I'd go on the long business trip to Johannesburg, or I was in Paris for 3-4 days. And inside of me, I was like, well, this isn't as cool as it used to be. Cause I was thinking about my kids back at home and thinking, well, every time I went back home, it seemed like years had gone by. It wasn't really that. Now that I know, I recognize that, but I felt like I was missing these really precious moments. And I hadn't had this kind of internal conflict ever before. But as I started wanting to focus more on family, not on work, I started thinking to myself, well, okay, but if I stop moving up and moving faster, because all the different things are going in my mind, like, do I keep going on the promotion path? Is this happening? Is this right? Like, if I didn't keep moving up, was it going to kill my career? Were people going to think differently of me? You know, also internally, I thought like just in the thoughts in my mind, I was thinking, well, if I don't keep moving up the ladder, like, am I going to be fulfilled professionally as well? Because like that's all I'd ever known. Like, what would I be doing with all this extra time? I know I want to hang out with the family, but what would I actually be doing? So I had all this kind of stuff that was going on inside of me, but I realized like I'd worked my whole career to be able to continue to stay on that track and to continue to move up that ladder. And one of the things that I started realizing, like, my self worth was really tied up in the roles, in the titles that I was like getting. And so I started realizing that, wow, maybe this is not exactly what it's all cracked up to be, because having the kids changed my perspective, changed my priorities, and caused these kind of things that were going on inside of me. And then there are other thing that I remember being either talking to bosses in their offices or when we'd be on trips, because I would take them to go meet with executives of clients that we were serving. And I just remember looking at calendars or having to figure out when we could get a meeting. I remember this one meeting actually is just in Madrid, Spain, and I met at 6:30 a.m. for lunch. And the people that I met and the regional president at the time, like, had just flown in that night before at 1 o'clock, and it was literally leaving that meeting to go fly somewhere else. And whether it was my direct bosses or their bosses, I just saw these calendars were just every single day. And I was like, is that really the life that I truly, really want? And everybody has different things, but I realized like that's not the life that I really wanted. And so I had to really figure out, okay, well, I kind of started this real estate thing. I wanted to be able to get started, but I realized like that was going to be my path out. Like, to make, like, I was going to keep doing my job because I liked it, but like making that lateral move to then move up the promotion path, I didn't. I started realizing like that's not really what I wanted anymore. And so when I realized that that's not what I wanted anymore, I had the plan, but at the same time, it was the very first year in this new role. And in the very first year, I finished at less than 50%. And it was like, oh my gosh, like all this different stuff was going on. I wanted to double down on this real estate stuff because that was the thing that was supposed to set me free. At the time, my worst nightmares became true because I'd taken this lateral move. I didn't even get 50% of my sales target. And all this stuff just really had me conflicted. But then that was one year. But then the very next year, I went from less than 50% to like 104% or 105%, something like that. And then the following year, I did well over 250% of my quota. But the thing that happened for me was I started realizing like I was using in the first couple of years of my job, even though I'd taken a lateral move, I didn't have people responsibility. I was using a lot of the same leadership skills that I'd used when I had direct reports. I was solving problems with heads of companies that were worth multiple billions of euros in revenue. I was sitting in their offices with CEOs of companies that, like I said, were 2-3 billion euro revenue types of companies internally, working with different teams, cross discipline to be able to accomplish a goal. At the time, it was a sales goal, of course, but I was able to use so many of these different skills. And at the same time, I was able to spend more time with my family because I didn't have the direct line responsibility. I was able to create my own path. I was able to get the side hustle that I had. I was able to focus on that. No, it wasn't perfect, right? It was definitely wasn't perfect, but I got the side hustle actually up and running. One that allowed me to make my 9 to 5 optional a few years later. And I was able to be a better employee because I would use the same skill set as I came in with the manager mindset, right? And I was able to help even my direct line managers more because I was someone who was contributing. I was bringing new ideas. I didn't have to worry about filling out annual reports and the salary reviews and all these different types of things. I was able to just be a high performing individual contributing employee. I had more of my time. I was able to build the business that eventually would allow my 9 to 5 to become optional. And I was able to have more quality family time, which was the thing that I was really struggling with in the beginning. So although I never got to become a managing director or CEO during my corporate career, you know what? I know that I was able to contribute on a level that was much, much higher. And so if you feel that you're kind of in this situation, you're not the only one. Like I've been there. I've done that. I understand what it's like. I understand the conflicts that are going on internally with you. I understand that you feel this, pressure to perform and things that may not feel optimal. You're going to have some failures along the way. It's just normal. But contributing to your company, you don't just have to continue to move up the organization. And I can tell you that had I not had amazing managers that were able to recognize how I was contributing without moving up, and also were really, really awesome in being able to manage that communication upward in an organization and big companies, that's really important. And so I'm really thankful for the great managers that I had during my time in corporate. I'm also, very happy that I was able to contribute. And I know that you can do exactly the same. And, if you're feeling like you're a little bit stuck and you don't really know how to navigate that, you want some help, someone who's not in your organization, who's not there with you on a day-to-day basis, that's also one of the main focus areas for our advisory services program. So if you want to find out more, just go to billykeels.com/advising. And you can find out more there. Once again, it's billykeels.com/advising. Fill out a little application, see if it's the right fit, and we'll be there to help you. So take today's conversation, listen to it again, share it with a couple friends. Maybe you know someone who's gone through a situation or is going through right now a situation that's very similar, and take it. Use the lessons that are here to help overcome the situations that you're having. And if it makes sense, just reach out to me. So while you're doing that, I'll be here preparing for the next episode. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much. Today's conversation was sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you're looking to make your 9 to 5 optional and need some help, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.